So I'm finally ready to talk about Cowboy Carter. I have recorded this video. This will be my third time trying to record a video on Cowboy Carter, capture my thoughts on the record. Tried doing a reaction video, was not happy with that because, babe, I was getting whacked over the head and I was like literally losing my mind. Not sure if I'm ready to let y'all see that side of me yet. So now it's been a week later. The album is number one, and I'm ready to sit and talk about my thoughts on the album. And let me just start off by saying this: Cowboy Carter is Beyonce's best album. When it comes to craftsmanship, when it comes to innovation, when it comes to intention, hands down, Cowboy Carter is Beyonce's best work. And to speak to that point, the way that I consumed this album was so different than any of the other 8 studio albums that Beyonce has released, right? I actually really had to take my time with this record. Not because it was like music that just wasn't clicking for me, mostly because, and I spoke about this in my reaction video to Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages. First of all, shout out to y'all for the support on that. Yes, gotta give y'all 10s for that. But the fact that the lyrical content on this record was going to be so important, right? I knew that this would be a very lyrical heavy, a very storytelling type of record, especially whenever you hear like a song like 16 Carriages released as the first single, really capturing her early years as, you know, the lead singer of Destiny's Child and how hard she had to work to become the woman and become the artist and the star that she is today. So records like 16 Carriages, records like Just for Fun, records like Alligator Tears, records like even Tyrant, right? Where the lyrical content really is just so important. And so it took me some time to really, because I wanted to be as thorough as possible before speaking on the record, right? I wanted to get into all the nooks and crannies, make sure that I went and got through all the different corners. And so that's why, without a doubt, I can say that this is Beyonce's best record. Beyonce has mastered the art of collaboration, and I spoke about her great talent with this on a couple of Renaissance videos on my YouTube channel, because Renaissance, much like Lemonade, is a very collaborative effort. Beyonce builds records like she's Frankenstein, right? Like Dr. Frankenstein. And so she'll amass these really great creatives together, blend these really great ideas, and we'll take a piece of this idea and merge it with a piece of this idea. No one is building records like that. No one has built records like that. So she is a very innate talent of doing that. And it has bequeathed so much over the years, right? Lemonade was like that really first time that we saw her doing that. Well, there were aspects of it on Self-Titled, especially like when you think of a song like Blow, where she mixed those two songs together from those two titans, Pharrell and Timbaland. So that was like a little baby piece of like what she was doing. But Lemonade, she really like kicked it into high gear. Renaissance, I thought that would be the culmination of that type of album building. But Cowboy Carter blows that out of the water, especially when you think about the intention and when you think about the way that she was able to collaborate with all these really great producers, songwriters, instrumentalists, musicians, and create a cohesive sound, not only as like a solid album, but a cohesive sound that matches the story that she wanted to tell. And I think that is just so beautiful. That takes such a talent, right? Again, I spoke on this before. Too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Not a lot of people would be able to manage those amount of ideas. But Beyonce is such an innate talent of choosing the best parts from each collaborator, choosing the best parts from each songwriter, and then of course adding her own sauce and adding her own flair and ingredients to it, especially when it comes to vocal producing, right? Oh my goodness. But yeah, she really took that to such another step on this record. And it has just been so amazing to witness, like, as a fan. Like, y'all don't even realize, like, for somebody who has been listening to this lady literally since before I even started school, right? Just watching the way that her artistry has grown. The first listen of Cowboy Carter, like, I was just so immensely proud. I was so immensely just satisfied as a fan, right? Like, wow, Beyonce, you really did your big one on this. Yeah. And so that's why I can without a doubt say that this is her best record. Beyonce said that this record has been 5 years in the making, and you can hear it, right? There are just so the ingredients that are there. It's just, wow. How do you even come up with a record like this, right? And I will say, listening to this record was a journey, a journey. 27 tracks, mind you, right? And then let's talk about that. 27 tracks, no skips. No skips. Like, when I say that, I cannot say that there is a genuinely bad song on this record. Of all 27 tracks, that is mind blowing to me, right? And I'm not gonna name any names, but this is Beyonce's first no skip album since B Day. Like, I think that is crazy. This album is not your typical country record, right? Like, it tells a story, it has a purpose, and that purpose was redefining the scope of genre and kind of dismantling that idea of genre. And the fact that Beyonce was able to weave so many different genres together, right? Gospel, rock, like the psychedelic rock in American Requiem, right? Straight, the straight, country folk tunes like the Blackbird cover, Protector, Just for Fun, Alligator Tears. And then it gets really weird and trippy with Ya Ya, where you get like that, mix of soul, rock and roll, country. And then with a song like Riverdance, right, where you're mixing folk and house together with a side of like spirituals, right? Right. And then you get like the funk and Desert Eagle. It really just dismantles the idea of country. That's why Beyonce, when she said it's not a country album, it's a Beyonce album. And only Beyonce can create a genre bending project like this, right? Like that. Also, I want to speak to that because only her as an artist could sing a song like Riverdance, right? Could mix the elements of folk, right, with the songwriting, and then bring together that dance beat, but then also bring those R&B style harmonies and vocals. Like Riverdance is bar like that is a Beyonce song. No one else can do that. So I think that is really great that she's able to bring her perspective in that sense. Just like I said, with the craftsmanship of the record, nobody else would be able to tackle that. So dismantling the idea of genre, and of course we had Linda Martell really narrating that arc with the Linda Martell show, and then of course with Spaghetti, which also is just like a mind blowing song. Brazilian funk, folk, and hip hop, like what? Who else? Like who else, y'all? I think it's really cool that Beyonce got these legends stamp of approval, and I think that also it was really great that she used them as narrators for the project with Linda Martell driving the genre arc of Cowboy Carter, and then Dolly P driving the infidelity part of the record and the love story there. And then Willie Nelson's arcs of Beyonce is really just exploring these more traditional and folk sounds, and him being there to like narrate this KNTRY like country radio show. I thought that was really cool. And so also that's how I kind of like split up the arcs of the album. That is just so interesting how she did that. Just a very genius lady. I never had to explore a Beyonce record this much too, and I love music that challenges you, right? Like yeah. Challenges. That I mean, essentially that's what that was the record's intention, right? Was to challenge the listener, was to challenge detractors that say that she was not supposed to be in country. And proving that there is a space for her, and not necessarily like in a strictly country lane. There's a space for me being Beyonce the artist, and this is what I bring to the country table. And this is the way that I can blend these different genres to fit in the country lane and also still be authentically Beyonce. Yeah. Beyonce, you did that. You did that. First of all, I think also the prompt of the album is so funny, right? Like they wronged Beyonce. I know there was like a meme. There was like Beyonce in the car, like after the CMA Awards. Yeah, babe, don't test Beyonce. Or a matter of fact, actually, maybe we should be testing her more because if this is the product of Beyonce getting disrespected and tested, yeah, I'm gonna have to let the chopper sing, babe. I need some more. I need some more. And it's so funny too, right? Because whenever I am trying to get people to listen or get their thoughts on the album, right? I will admit, 27 tracks is quite the undertaking for a casual fan. But that being said, a lot of the fans are which is like, oh, I'm not really into country music, right? I tell them, I'm just like, get through the country songs, but there's food for everybody on this record, right? And it's so funny because I'll start playing like from Ya Ya all the way through Amen. I start at Flamenco because I think Flamenco is one of the highlights from the record. I start at Flamenco, but anyway, Ya Ya through Amen, the end of that record, like when I tell you, like people's like minds get blown because they're just like, oh, I'm like, yeah, babe, like there is food for you on here. There is music on here for you. Beyonce did not forget about you. She did not lead you astray. And then when they hear that part of the album, they are interested in the first half. And then they get drawn into the journey of the record. Songs like Just for Fun, you know, it, songs like that necessarily didn't click to me on the first listen, but I was driving the other day and I was just like, let me turn on Just for Fun. And when I tell you I bawled my eyes out, I was like, this is such a beautiful song. And I want to speak to that and say that it's so interesting seeing how different people gravitate to different songs, right? Because again, when I speak on Just for Fun got shooters, right? I was just like, Just for Fun, she's a great song, but I'm like, I don't really get the hype. But then I sat down with it, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So, and same thing with other songs like Daughter. Like there are Daughter stands out there. So I just think that it's so interesting how like again, there is something for everybody on this record. I wonder if Beyonce made the record with that intention. The spread of standout tracks for certain people. It's never been this diverse before, if that makes sense. And also, I do want to talk about the two collaborations on the record that are really like, oh, I didn't know that would be good together. Miley Cyrus, when I heard Two Most Wanted for the first time, I want to just out myself and just say that I've always been a fan of Miley Cyrus. Not necessarily her antics and, of course, like what she did with the Bangers album. Although I will say, I think the Bangers album is good. And it's good because I actually genuinely love Miley Cyrus's voice. I think that she has one of the greater voices in popular music. And that rasp, Beyonce loves painting with a raspy voice. That's why she loved working with Michelle so much in Destiny's Child. And so I just knew when she was able to direct Miley Cyrus that gave her so much fulfillment in allowing her to be able to paint with Miley's vocals. And they did such an amazing job singing together. They sound like heaven. Oh my gosh. And then, the next track right after, Post Malone. Beyonce, girl, you got me saying like I love this Post Malone song. Like you got me saying that, girl. Like only you, only you, only you. And that's no shade to Post Malone, but girl, I am not his audience. But Beyonce exploring and deconstructing the idea of genre. She's got me saying that I like a Post Malone song, and I'm not gonna hold you. Like, girl, I be listening to that song. First of all, a highlight for me, Post Malone got me thinking. I'm like, oh my goodness. And my favorite part is the end where he's literally howling to the moon, girl, for Beyonce. Yeah, very interesting track. And like I said, I just would have never thought those two would make a great collaboration. And I noticed somebody even said this that Beyonce chose Miley Cyrus and Post Malone because those are two artists who have also delved into different genres and have gotten critiques for doing so. That was a very interesting choice and kind of tongue in cheek, if you will. And yeah, that Beyonce's a smart lady. Like I said, the intention behind this record is crazy. There's a couple of songs also that I think were super mind blowing. Tyrant, for example, I thought it was just like okay, a typical like this sounds like a Beyonce song mixed with that folk. Very interesting song, but it wasn't until I listened to the lyrics where I was just like, there's some tea here. Like this song is actually like this is a very interesting song, right? And it's so interesting because also I think people hear Tyrant, they hear that beat, they start dancing, they think it's like a fun party song. But when you listen to the lyrics, it's like actually kind of like an ode. Not I want to say an ode, but she's addressing Jolene, the mistress, right? And she is essentially like envious of the mistress. Her name is Hangman in the song, but teach Hangman, teach me how not to cry. That beautiful bridge. Oh my goodness. And also while we're on Tyrant, can we talk about how that is track number 25? Track number 25 out of 27 is a hit like Tyrant. Like that is so mind blowing to me. Usually that's where you like stick the duds on the album. I don't want to say the duds, but a hit like Tyrant is a hit. Like when radio finds out about Tyrant, it's kind of over. A plus song. Like when I realized the depth and the meaning behind Tyrant, that's when I was like, oh wow, this is actually a standout track for me. And it quickly raised in my top five, my top favorites. And speaking of favorites, like when people ask me and they put like a gun to my head and they're like, what are your favorite songs from the record? I'm like, I don't even know how to answer that because first of all, there's 27 tracks. And second of all, again, there's something for everybody in this track, babe. I am a multifaceted person. I have different moods every day. When I tell you, girl, Flamenco was my number one song off the record. And then it was Amen. And then, girl, I had that moment to Just for Fun. Now I think Tyrant is there. First of all, let's just say Sweet Honey Buckin' always been in the top five. Like when I first heard that, I was like, yeah, she's like, that's gonna be one of my favorite Beyonce songs, period. Pharrell, y'all already know how I get about him. Like, of course, Pharrell would have one of the best songs on the record. Don't piss me off. That's her work husband. Yeah, more Pharrell records with Beyonce. They create such amazing things together. Oh my God! Don't even get me started on Sweet Honey Buckin' and Pharrell and why he needs to always be on a Beyonce record. Yeah, he technically he was on Renaissance before Khalees started running her mouth, but whatever. We're not gonna talk about that. What was I on? Yes. As far as favorite tracks goes, ooh, I just went on a tangent there. As far as favorite tracks goes, I did the album sorter. I did it like 1 or 2 days after the album came out, and then I just did one right before I started recording this video. I guess I'll show you them, but literally the difference in like what they are from like the second day versus like a week after listening is crazy. And I know next week is going to change. Like the way that I just cannot pinpoint. Again, what I will say when people ask me what is my favorite track, I'm just like, But I always tell them, I'm just like, there is something for everybody on this record, and it changes daily. I was speaking with some friends. A common question that comes up, especially as like a fan, what was better, Act One or Act Two, right? I personally, I'm gonna say Act Two, right? That being said, I'm not necessarily a big country listener, but growing up in the South, girl, I got my country tune, so I get my life from country. However, there are a lot of my friends who don't necessarily listen to country music, and so whenever they're posed with that question, right, like music wise, they love Renaissance, but again, when it comes to the intention and how she made this record, they give Cowboy Carter's its tens. And like you can tell that this project and a lot of her passion was more felt in this record than it was in Act One. And you just gotta give the girl her tens for that. Like Cowboy Carter, you get your things. That being said, I'm very curious to see what Act Three brings us. I know rumors are gonna be a rock album. And I also want to speak about how Beyonce is the Steven Spielberg of music, right? Who else is creating these really big blockbuster records like Cowboy Carter, like Renaissance, like Lemonade, like Self Titled, right? Albums that not only are sonically great, but they create movements and they create moments and conversation and they move culture beyond the music. I just think that is just so special. And the fact that we are able to be in a time where we are able to have these really big blockbuster albums, it keeps music exciting. Nobody is doing this in music. I'm not trying to diss any of her peers, but when it comes to releasing a standout, solid body of work that not only goes out of its way to push the needle, but also meet people where they are. Like, I don't know, like, babe, like, it just, that being said, Beyonce, I am just so immensely proud of you. I asked for a country record, and Beyonce, you did not disappoint. And that's why, babe, you will always be my number one. You will always have me at the day one. They could never make me hate you, girl. They could never make me hate you because I've been begging for this country record, and I know you saw my pleas. I know you did somehow, some way. I'm kidding, but babe, she felt my energy. I was giving her that energy, and she stuck with her gut. She took a risk, and look what happened. And that's another thing too. She's a risk taker, an innovator. She just was honored with the Innovator Award at the iHeart Music Radio Awards. Did I say that right? Anyway, she spoke about how being an innovator is challenging because you do put yourself up to critiques. You do put yourself up to failure, possible failure. But with Beyonce, when she takes risks, when she goes there, it always is so beneficial and rewarding to her. And I think that as a message is something that we should all look to. And again, speaking to taking risks, this has been one of her more well received albums, not only critically, but commercially as well. Blew Renaissance numbers out the water as far as debut week, which is insane to me because, again, that popularity that Beyonce had during the Renaissance era, who knew that it could repeak, right? Mind you, Beyonce's a legacy artist. This lady has been making music since the 90s, since before probably a lot of people watching this video were even like coherent and cognizant. I think that just speaks volumes to just also like how omnipresent Beyonce is as an artist and how important she is to music, right? The fact that she's able to again build these blockbuster records, and not only do they move and speak critically, but they move the needle commercially as well. Like it no one else is doing it. No one else is doing this. No one has done this. This is monumental, and makes me so proud as a fan. Right, girl? I know the people who have been in my life since I was a kid are tired of me bragging about a number one Beyonce album, babe. But the train hasn't stopped yet. What y'all want me to do? What y'all want me to do? Y'all mad because I picked the right one? Yeah, yeah, babe. I saw the light way back then. I knew where we were going. I knew the destination. That's why I got in this car. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, I'm being silly now. Anyway, let me know y'all thoughts on the record. I really want to know, what are your favorite tracks? What are you looking forward to most in this era? Beyonce's been outside, girl. She's been promoting. I got some of the merch. I should have wore one of my t-shirts, but I didn't. I just came from the gym, girl. I'm in my Ivy Park though. Got my sacred in my hair. You know how I do. You know how I do. Hope that we get some award show performances. Please, please, I would love to see this on like a big stage. Is a tour coming? Even after like the Renaissance tour ended so quickly, who knows? There's rumors about it. Visuals, yeah, yeah. What are we looking forward to? Anyway, y'all, I just want to thank y'all so much for watching this. And I know I had a couple of people hit me up asking me for my thoughts. Thank y'all for your patience. I just needed to sit with this record, and Beyonce would have wanted me to do this. And that's what you should do as well when you're listening to this record. And listen, with 27 tracks, you'll be feasting off of this record for a very long time. Anyway, I want to thank y'all so much. Like, comment, subscribe. Y'all already know the deal. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Bayou. And until next time, thank you. Hey, Miss Honeybee, it's Dolly P. Cowboy Carter, it's time to strike a match and light up this juke joint. Oh my goodness. And then also literally my favorite part of the Dolly P, just the hair of a different color, but it hurts just the same. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I love her voice. I love her voice.